Welcome back. Welcome back to the Detroit is Different podcast studios. And in studio, I have a guest that was like, yo, I need to get in the studio even before facts. So I told her, I was like, all right, based on everything that's happening, you got to give me some time, but I got to meet you where we at. She was like, nah, I got to get in there. I got to get in there. I've heard about Detroit is Different. You connect through great people. And shout out to all of those people that got love for Detroit is Different and what we doing here. I love that. So I said, okay, after the time comes, we're going to get you in. You're going to get that phone call first, right at bat. And actually, this gets political, but it's political because we all about community. And she is from that same arc because she's reaching out through people in community. And she is running for the city council seat of District 5 in the city of Detroit. And since I say a she, you should already know who this is because it's only two that made it into this general. So, Renata Miller, how are you today?
I am wonderful. Thanks for asking, Curry.
All right. So, we already kind of had a couple different discussions as you came to our candidate meet and greet, which you sat in the basement of Greater Quinn for a good little minute and just got to interact with the people around this neighborhood and community. And I was like, okay, this is like in the trenches, interacting with my good people. So shout out to my 12th Street, Linwood,
Yes,
all of my Fullerton folks and Backwoods and everything else, and Clemens Street. We love that. And you were in full effect and you gave a taste of what the people will want to hear more so from the scope of what led for you to run. But here at Detroit is Different, we get that full story, your backstory, your connection to the city. So thank you so much for being here.
you're welcome.
All right, so we're going to start off with this one.
Let me
Your
say this first, if
family.
you don't mind.
What you say?
That day that I asked you to come back on your show,
Uh-huh.
you leaned over to me and you said, well, let's see what happens after the primary.
Yeah,
And I told him I needed that immediate spot quickly.
I know.
But I think he had faith. He kind of believed in me. But I am here now and I am excited. I really am
Yeah.
for the opportunity.
And more so, just so everybody knows, we're equitable. This isn't, I look at this as content creation. This isn't the same arc and I guess maybe whatever the standard of journalism, even though it seems like a lot of what goes on in journalism in this city sometimes ain't as representative of my people as I would like it to be, here nor there. But I still want to be equitable and fair. And District 5, it's not just District 5. It's like there were many candidates throughout the city that tapped in. So those that we could, that's where the meet and greet came into play. And now we can get into that backstory. Your Detroit story and your connection. So how many generations deep is your family to Detroit?
Presently 4.
Okay,
4
that's 4
generations.
generations
Yes,
deep.
my mom and dad, my aunts and uncles, and myself,
Mhm.
and my 2 daughters, and my 1 grandson.
Okay,
It's
all
4
right.
generations strong.
All right, so now we got to go back to what led the Detroit trip. Where your parents from?
My mom's from Savannah, Georgia, the historical Savannah, Georgia.
Okay.
That's why I love his history. My dad is actually from Idlewild, Michigan. One of the mainstream Black components that brought people to Detroit. Generations. We have property there that's been passed down to 3 generations.
Okay. All right. So you went on 2 different places
Yes, I
that
did.
are destinations
Yep.
where we got some different roots. Georgia, as Detroit is different, is so many people came from the migration from Georgia.
Yes.
Georgia and Alabama, those are like the top 2 states of Black folks coming to Detroit. And Savannah,
Yes.
as it may be. If anybody ever had a chance to go to Savannah, my mom was actually thinking of relocating the whole family down there.
I can understand that.
Yep, it's hot as all get up. I'm just messing with you.
True.
But some of the best pecans and all of the other agricultural work of Georgia is there. But Idlewild, the destination, the oasis, the
Yes.
Eden for Black folks.
It is. And it's coming back.
Yeah, and it's a lot of folks up that way. I'll be actually up there for Labor Day. Shout out to Petty Propolis and Tawana Honeycomb Petty that's been doing the Petty Propolis Festival for years and what that is. And so many people are connected to Evans family, but like just the roots. But you're the first person that talk about roots actually growing up there. I'm so used to people like, okay, we visit or we go there for the summer. What was that like of your dad? What were those stories?
My family's actually taking off on Wednesday to go to Idlewild. But going there in the summer was going to the fisheries. That was like one of the main things. The fisheries where they're trenched out just to catch fish. Being on the main road, pitching tents. I'm actually a Girl Scout brownie by way of camping.
Mm.
Just taking our trailers up there, just spending time with people that has a sense of heritage, legacy. And it was my grandmother, she's deceased now, who actually embedded in us a sense of pride for Detroit culture. Just real Detroiters that want to maintain that history alone.
Okay. All right. So definitely condolences on the loss of the grandparents that come from that space. But I'm just wondering, was it a business that your family ran up there? What were they doing just in the space, just living there?
Oh, they just went to school there. That's where they were actually raised. I forgot to even mention my uncle Charles Lieber, who came down. He actually was the accountant for Coleman Young.
Mm.
His building was just right there on the boulevard.
Mm.
Where he did taxes for Black people in that area who necessarily couldn't even afford to have those type of services. But it's just a heritage that I'm proud of.
Okay. So the roots run deep, and you even kept those connections connecting back. Is like we say, those Idlewild families have strong ties. The Evans family, I mean, you're going to
Yes.
bump into, almost run over somebody from the Shrine of Black Madonna if you go through
Yeah.
the history of what's happening up in Black Eden, as they
Yeah.
call it. And it's worth a trip. It's
It is.
so that's one angle. And then coming to Detroit, what neighborhood did your people come to when they made their
My
way to
mom,
Detroit?
well, they actually migrated by way of the auto industry.
Mhm.
My grandfather, he worked at Bud
Mm.
and Christ at the same time.
Okay.
And so we were on Springle between Charlotte and Verner
Mm.
by way of City View Missionary Baptist Church. My mom, actually, part of that was, I can't think of I'm gonna lose a train of thought. Anyway, my father, his family, we grew up on Fleming in the Conant Gardens area.
Okay.
My grandfather was a bricklayer. You would see some of his names in the bricks in Hamtramck.
Wow.
Right there off of between 6 Mile and Nevada. I went to Corville Elementary. Most of my family went to Nolan or Farwell or Persian. My mom graduated from Southeastern, of course.
Okay. All right. So this is
She's a jungleer.
knee deep East Sideism.
Absolutely.
It's
I
like
lost it during
Persian.
this election too.
It's like Persian and a little bit of as you say, the Southeastern, that connection of those neighborhoods. Let's start over in the Southeastern area,
Yes.
as they call it. So that community.
Yes.
What did your family still have the homes over there and those ties and roots where you were coming up? And
There's
what was
actually my grandmother's home is vacant, abandoned. It's still there. My daughter actually tried to get property because we own a couple of lots around my grandmother's house, and she was on the verge of actually making it a winery to grow and to teach youth about growing wine. But of course, that fell through the land bank. We won't even go there right now. But nevertheless, I am a East Sider by way. Even coming home from Tuskegee, I moved on the East Side. I moved on Buckingham and Mac.
Okay.
Then I moved on Devonshire and Outer Drive. I'm an avid roller skater. My mom roller skate. We're at Skateland. St. Bernard's. I couldn't think of it earlier, but my mom, I used to go to camp at St. Bernard's on St. Jean and Mac. Just going to all the rec centers in that area, fishing along the Detroit River, going under the tunnel on Jefferson, coming up from the boulevard, which people don't even know about to this day, which is why I was so adamant about ending my life or having the end life being in Detroit, on the east side of Detroit. That's just where my heart is.
Okay, so the heart over on that way.
It is.
Okay, and in that community, as we know, that community is, for people that kind of don't know it, it's like by the water a little bit.
Yes.
Like, I mean, to me, it's like, as a West Sider, I say it's like two parts of the East Side. It's like you by the water or you by the airport. It seems like it. But, East Siders be like, no, it's not. Kind of be seeming like that. So also when you talk about the fishing and a lot of what happens near the water and that connection, and I think that relationship to a lot of people that are outside of Detroit that watch a Detroit is different really don't kind of tie together so much of our connection to water.
Right.
What was it like growing up? What do you remember about the river, being by the water?
One of the main things was either perched or whiting.
Okay.
Growing up, we weren't wealthy. I remember going to the Harry Krishner sometime for lunch, riding our bike to Remus Robinson we would go to several rec centers and get a lunch for a day if we had to. We were just riding, but taking with my grandmother, her friends, we would go there and they would actually catch fish. And that would be our meals sometimes. We watch them deadhead, skin, and cook.
Okay.
And that was part of our heritage. We enjoyed the Detroit River. Even there's a part down there where there was, I would say, which is one of the probably the most amazing area. It was a lot of trailers down that way off of Archer Road.
Hmm.
People never knew it was nestled down in that area. And who would imagine that there would be a trailer park on that kind of property? Well, eventually the city moved them out for various reasons, but nevertheless, just to ride our bikes in those areas, to grow up and eventually start to come back and have barbecues and campouts in that area along the Detroit River.
All right, and you talk for show fishing as your family, like, okay, for a person that, you can catch them, catching them, skinning them, deboning them, the whole thing. That's like where you really getting down. All right. Okay. So this connection, as we say, like that does exist east. And then on the whole other part of the east side, another very nurtured community when we think of what Black families look to build structure. So inside it's often uplifted. So many, I think, from that west side lens of the Rosedale Parks or the Sherwood Forest, and a lot of the Jewish families that left, even this neighborhood for to a degree, and Russell Woods, but Conant Gardens.
Yes, right across Davidson.
Right across Davidson.
Yeah.
Shout out to Sydney James.
Yes.
Love you, Sydney, as you uplifted so much history about Conant Gardens and da-da-da-da-da.
Yes.
But the Conant Gardens are one of those communities that the families go back generations, and it was really a community of hardworking Black folks that was looked to be poured into, and even to this day. What do you remember about this community as a child?
I would say for that community, it was more or less where I probably started to take on my own personality. I was raised to be proud of where I lived and have pride in my environment. I was first learned. My grandmother taught me on my dad's side, like even if you're a renter, you should be planting flowers. She would wake me up. We're going to Eastern Market. We're planting hostas today. But you're going to come down here and divide these on the side of my house, and we're going to expand them. I'm like, well, I'm just going to buy them. No, we're going to plant. We had apple trees, pear trees, apricot trees that needed to be serviced every day. I had to clean these up. Every day I'm picking up rotten, dropped fruit. Our grapevine spread the length of our backyard. We had land. It was able to buy land, and my dad cemented it all in because I played basketball. And I had my own full court basketball rim at that age, and I played all the guys in the neighborhood. But the sense of pride is where that began.
Okay.
Where you live. Everybody on the block. A lot of people went to Vernon Chapel Church. By way of my grandparents had a travel club. They also drove the church bus. So there was a sense of philanthropy, giving back. They raised money for the community. They often helped people that were set aside to deal with different illnesses and sickness. But that's where I began to see that we have an obligation and a responsibility to each other in our community, especially on our block. And I used to be confused, like, why are you doing this? And my grandmother would say, that's what you're supposed to do. And even with my mom, I watched her. She is probably one of the most giving people I know, even at church. I grew up in a church. And that is my foundation. That is my foundation. And even as I'm on this journey, some people question it, like, you can't have that in politics. But when you've been through calamities, when you've been through illnesses, when you've seen people that couldn't survive and thrive, sometimes that was their only hope, is God, is religion. So in that nurturing time in my life, I was able to transition into who I was going to become. And I wanted to be a person that gave back because I felt I was privileged. There was a saying that my dad used to always say, to whom much is given, much is required. And I felt that I was given a lot.
Okay, so in the same scope of watching that and witnessing that from that community and seeing the way the community came together around one another. See, this is part of the narrative that I often don't think, as I talk about journalism, it's often uplifted to understand some of the nuances of the roots of a lot of these Detroit Black communities, because oftentimes what's scattered are definitely different messages from outside interests that I feel are not necessarily seeing the lens of it the right way.
Sure.
And Conant Gardens is definitely one of those communities. As you talked about all of those fruit trees. And it throws people off sometimes that it's like, wow.
They came from.
Yeah, and it's in these communities that still exists. So you are connected to a history of watching those traditions.
Yes.
So now I just want to touch before you went to basketball. I'm gonna put a pin in that. We got to talk about that in a second. Especially Conant Gardens. That's like a Persian neighborhood. Persian, you're gonna play some basketball around there. All right. So, but before we go there, parents, what work do they do in community? What's their relationship, mom and dad?
My mom is a retired registered nurse, RN. And my dad is a retired captain on the Detroit Fire Department. But he also retired from the United States Navy. He served 25 years.
Wow.
My family believe in multiple streams of income. My dad had the Busy Bee janitorial service.
Okay.
I remember growing up going to Penske Trucking Company on Grasshurt and going into the bathroom cleaning men's urinals. I hated it. I said to my mom, I'm not a boy. She's like, you'll be all right. And I would have to go clean and spray down the urinals, clean the ashtrays, dump trash. And then he also repaired washing machines and dryers.
Hey.
Right there, our Charlevoix, he had a little small, nook. It was actually my godfather's, the Reverend Ashford, and he transitioned it to my dad. And he repaired washing machines and dryers. And I would have to go with him. I'm the only child to all these different houses. And sometimes he already knew what it was before we got there. But he charged his I call it a show up fee, but he would charge his service charge. And so people would have to go out and buy new stuff. But he was fair. He looked out for the consumer because most people would come in and say you just need a new washer. But he would repair those. And so my mom, she actually sold balloons down at Hart Plaza during the festivals on Saturdays and Sundays. She had me out there, my early teens, like, don't you want to buy a rose? Don't you want to buy a balloon? I used to be ashamed at times. I would see my friends from high school like, y'all selling balloons today? Yeah, we're selling balloons today. But I knew when I got home, I got a percentage and I got a cut of it.
Okay.
And I would be just enamored by the money that I was making. So I've always held multiple streams of income. I've always worked. And my parents instilled in me that to have something, you have to put the time in. And do it while you're young. Do it while you don't have children because they consume a greater portion of your life.
All right. And you also, now it's like you're watching your parents in roles of service, but also in roles of entrepreneurship, but roles of service, registered nurse. And we're talking, I don't know what era your mother, but just from shout out Bryce Detroit, talking about just the role of, right now we take for granted how many Black folks work in the medical industry. But it was a time, even in a city as Black as Detroit, where being a nurse was not necessarily a door that was opened up like you think it was. And the roles that different registered nurses, Coco speaking about her mother, and the ways that those that worked in medicine played in community because of that access. And sadly, just from a national level, we still have some disconnects of not necessarily having that access. But let's just start with registered nurse. Your mother, where was she working? What was that journey like? And what do you remember just that navigating?
I remember my mom working at DOH, Detroit Osteopathic Hospital in Highland Park. I remember her working at Metro Medical Group right off Webb. I remember those years of just sometimes being in the car, waiting for her to use it when I'm using her car, okay? Had to be there on time to pick her up. But I just remember her carrying that from home because those were clinics where people were not wealthy. Some of them had government insurance and just the compassion that she had for all people, not based on what your insurance was, not based on how much you made at work, but just she's always been a very compassionate person, even to this day at 76 years old. My mom is probably one of the most compassionate persons you would ever meet. And she's also a nurse at her church. She's a nurse at the churches that her growing church, where she started out. And even now today, she serves as a nurse at church.
Ain't that
76. My mom had a stroke in December.
Oh, well, and, prayers up.
We were, December 13th, we were at receiving. And then she was over at REM and she said, aren't you going to sign up? I'm like, what? City council. I said, well, who's going to take care of you? So you've taken care of me my whole life. I gotta be here for you." And I can't even cry right now, but she's like, "No, don't come back here till you sign that paper and bring it and show it to me from the Department of Elections."
Wow.
She said, "This is your niche. This is your time." So it's really Miller time. That's
Mm.
my new saying. I just had to throw it in there right quick. But
Okay, I'm with it.
but my mom is just when I post her on Instagram or Facebook, everybody knows who she is. She's like a Mother Teresa.
Mm,
I watch my mom pay light bills. I watch her pay people's gas bills. I watch her buy clothes for people that's going on job interviews. I've watched her loan people money.
mm,
I mean, not even expecting it back because she believes when you loan someone something, you do not give more than you can afford to lose. Even in this day and age, she continues to maintain that level of love and respect for people.
mm,
'Cause she believes you have to meet people where they are, and everybody won't be as fortunate, but sometimes that hand will take them just across the line to where they need to be.
mm,
And she's trained me to be cognizant of spirit to actually operate in that.
mm.
And
Okay.
and I just thank her for it because it has allowed me to be a blessing to people.
All right. And in that same arc, so prayers up
Yeah.
definitely in that healing
Yeah, for
process and
sure.
also that
Thank
vision
you.
of also
Yes.
encouraging being a mama,
Yep. Mhm.
even in times when you was like, "Hey, mama." And it was like, "Nah, I'm
Mhm.
still mama."
Mhm.
And your father,
Ooh, that's another
fire
story.
department, uh,
Hardcore.
and in that fire department, as I always uplift, it's coming soon. It's coming soon. I'm gonna do the next it'll be like our first documentary from Detroit is Different
Mhm.
on that first class of black firefighters that Coleman Young was like really pushing to usher in
Mhm.
from rest in peace Marquise Wooden, one of my best friend JoAnn's father that passed. But it's a whole class. It's like Mr. Hardeman, it's Pastor Grimmett, it's let's see. I mean, it's so many people. It's
Mhm.
so many people, but that first class of like a lot of those black firefighters.
Mhm.
What was that journey like? Just witnessing, and were you at the firehouse?
Yes.
What was that connection
We're
for
the
you?
as a matter of fact, on one of my pieces of literature that I sent out, my own personal mailer, it's a picture of myself, my dad in his uniform. He asked
Mm,
me, "Why'd you put that uniform in that literature?" He
hilarious.
would have rather had his whites or his blue suit on, but I had his
Mm-hmm.
actual, fire, before he became a captain.
Mm,
But my father was one of the most, and I'm not saying this just to be saying it, but he was one of the most stand upright firemen I ever met because he brought a lot of young people in.
mm,
And even to this day, if we pull up at a fire, they always salute him and say, "Mr. John Miller."
mm,
His name is John D. Miller. Um, and he loved the fire. He loved helping people. I remember one time he fell out of a window
mm,
and he fell into a blanket of snow. We couldn't even keep him down for like medical. He's ready to go back really quick.
mm,
But he enjoyed the young people. He has no sons, so every young man on the fire department was his son.
mm,
And he just always wanted to tell him about his travels. My dad has traveled the world. I believe he's been on every continent but one,
mm.
and he's an avid traveler. He takes young kids camping, he takes them on ski trips. He tries to embed in them a sense of pride, a sense of civility, a sense of community. He's like everybody's father. Everybody call him Papa,
Okay.
John Miller.
All right. Yes, definitely, definitely. And I'm gonna be reaching out. I'm gonna be like, all right, all right.
Yeah,
And I was
mhm.
like, Hester Willer.
Yes,
It's a
and that's one
lot
of
of
his best
people.
friends. That's one of his good friends that I saw
Yeah,
often. Mr.
yeah.
Wheeler, matter of fact, we just saw him at the NAACP,
Mhm.
um, Freedom
Freedom Fund Day.
Gathering. Yes, we were
Yeah.
there, and I have a picture of them. That's one of his
Okay.
longtime friends, and Hester's brother as well.
Mhm.
But my dad's a man of integrity.
Mm.
He's one of those straight arrows.
Okay.
I mean, he won't go to the left, and he won't go to the right. He's gonna follow that straight arrow to the you're like, "Okay."
Well, I
And,
def
a lot of that's where I get a lot of my pride and integrity from because we often say, "What you do in the dark will come to the light." So just remain in the light and then allow that light to shine and be a blessing to others because that is the proper and the right thing to do.
all right. Well, I definitely look forward to making that acquaintance
Yes,
because I really
yes.
want to tell this
Oh,
story
he's
because
out
I
here on the
think
campaign
that
trail. He's out here.
that story of a lot of that class of a lot of those black
Yes,
firefighters
yes.
connecting to what Coleman Young stood on and a lot of other things. And
He is
I
also
got an
part of the
idea.
Phoenix too.
Yeah, and that's what it's gonna be
Yeah,
about. It's gonna be about that
yes.
Detroit Phoenix class of, like I say, I know Pastor Grimmett, Hester Wheeler, and I know a couple of the other guys, but rest in peace, Mr. Wooden,
Yes.
and what that means. So Now in that arc, I'm gonna pick this pin up. Basketball.
Well,
You went hooping.
Well, I used to play basketball in my middle school.
What middle school?
I went to Corville Elementary School.
Okay.
And I left there as the number one-on-one player and the number one free throw player. I still have my certificates, but I did play during high school. Not so much as I got older, but I still play with my grandson at times.
Okay.
Yeah. I love basketball.
All right. Do you let your grandson win?
No.
Hilarious.
It's totally unacceptable.
Hilarious.
We're a family of competitiveness.
Hilarious.
You have to work to be number one because when you become number one, you're holding a recognizable spot.
Okay.
Everybody want to be number one, but it takes a lot to be number one. So no.
Okay. All right, grandson. So it's like, all right, he gonna cross you over.
Shout out
like,
to Chase Bling.
He gonna be like, you gonna get that crossover going.
Oh, he's good.
All right. So in this same scope, what high school you go to?
I went to Shrine High School in Royal Oak.
Okay. What was that like?
Well, I actually was in public school, and then I went to Osborne. I have a lot of friends from Osborne High School my freshman year, and I'm going to tell you, I had too good of a time. I was probably one of the times in my parents' life, but they were most disappointed. I got in trouble a lot. It was the freedom coming from Coralville, and then going to St. Bartholomew on Outer Drive and Ryan, going to St. Louis the King on Mount Elliott and 7 Mile. And then I really wanted to go to public school.
All right. And
so I went.
And going to Osborne, that means you're like touching like almost like every nook and cranny, little bit of the East.
I'm a well-rounded person.
Yeah, so it's like you've seen those footprints, and then it's like, okay, well, I know some of these people from over this way, some of those people from over that way, and it all connect.
So after my freshman year, my dad was more or less like, you didn't do as well as we expected you to do. We expected excellence. And that's one of our things, excellence or nothing at all. So he said, pick a school.
Oh, man.
So I'm like, and I did apply for CAS. I did apply for Renaissance, but by me coming from actually, before I even went to Osborne, I had the grades to go to CAS. But because I was coming from a private school, they picked public school kids first.
Okay.
They called me in like maybe October, November, saying, hey, we have a spot for you. But I'd already been where I was, and I didn't want to transfer. And they allowed me to.
Okay.
So I picked Shrine High School in Royal Oak.
Okay.
A lot of my friends from St. Bart's went there.
All right. What was that experience like? How was it, that connection? Do you pick up with sports there? What's the focus?
I did some basketball there, but I had a different mentality there. I would say it was one of the best experiences for who I am now. It allowed me to see the world for what it really was. It allowed me to see what place we were supposed to be in. And I was a little radical.
Okay.
I was radical at school, not in a bad way, but I had questions. Even in religion class, there were questions because I already had a foundation. So I had a foundation that was steadfast and strong. And it has to be something very powerful to make me transition from my foundation.
Okay.
And I left there wanting to go to a Black HBCU.
Where do you go?
Tuskegee.
Okay, Alabama.
Yes, I did.
Okay, all right.
I did. And that was even a greater eye-opener because that was the first year they had their first McDonald's. And they were celebrating McDonald's. I'm like, what? This is like 3 generations behind. But the pride. I remember taking, my major was political science.
Okay.
I remember taking classes that actually made you think about where your place was in society. And it gave you the strength and the power to rise above any situation, any circumstance, any culture. And I left there after the years because I did have a child. I did get married. I was on the police department in Opelika. I was all over Alabama in Montgomery. And that time in my life was a searching time. And I knew that I would not be there forever because I'm not one for heat. I don't do heat.
Okay.
But I would come back to Detroit, and I came back home with a sense of who I am.
What
year do you come back? I came back, I'm going to say 89.
Okay.
89, 90.
Okay.
From that area.
So you come back almost, I guess, like at the tail end of Coleman Young's run as mayor for all his terms. And when you come back, especially from another place and older, and I know you're visiting, but as I always say, visiting is different than living. What are you noticing the changes in Detroit when you come back?
Well, the first thing I noticed was my parents had cut me off. See, when you're a student, you're living off your parents.
Mhm.
It cut me off.
Oh, that's gonna be a big notice right there. It's like
Therefore, I had to make it work. They
mhm,
had given me the tools to survive. They had given me the, knowledge to be the person they trained me to be.
mhm.
So I had to get resourceful,
Okay.
and I could not and I know the lifestyle that I had lived, so I wanted to maintain that, and I knew that I had to get busy doing something. So I got my first place on Buckingham in Detroit,
Mm,
and it was like $475 a month.
mm,
I'm gonna be honest, I was actually on aid. I
mm,
received $213 every 2 weeks, and I said, this is what?
mm,
I gotta figure this out,"
mhm,
because it just wasn't where I wanted to be.
mhm,
I'm not ashamed to have had food stamps. I'm not ashamed to have made those ends meet because I was a single parent. But in the meantime, I'm thinking of different ways that I can get my life back,
mhm.
how I could be a positive, um, example for my daughter at that time.
So also running concurrent, I'm saying just the pulse of the city. What's the feel of the city
The
that you're
city
coming back
pulse.
to at that time? Now that you've had time in Alabama and you're coming back
Yes.
and you're also like grown,
I'm gonna
grown.
tell you what I'm seeing,
Mhm.
and I say this even to this day. I saw a deflated civil rights movement.
Hmm.
I saw people that could not fit the shoes of even a Coleman Young. People tried, but he was, like, raw. People didn't have the respect for him. A lot of them didn't because they thought he was just over the top, but I loved
Mhm.
he was just real, and I know he tried to make a way for Black people in the fire department, the police department, and I would hear my dad in his conversation. Mainly, I'm in my, like, late teens, like, early 20s. So I'm hearing different conversations. I'm hearing my grandparents. I'm hearing all the things that had been set forth that people had not picked the torch up to continue on. I feel in my generation or the one prior to me was lost.
Hmm.
No one put the time in to carry on those traditions. They
Hmm.
just didn't.
When you say put that time in to carry on, do you look at that from a scope of the time spent to, like, as they say, like, prepare the next generation?
I'm saying, where are the JoAnn Watsons? Where are the Barbara Rose Collins of this generation?
Hmm.
Those people worked diligently for our people
Mhm.
so we could have some. They fought for us. I remember those murals. I remember the conversations, but there's another generation to come.
Hmm.
You always should be preparing the next generation.
Mhm.
Because even now, I consider myself to be an older candidate,
Mm.
but my heart and my passion doesn't change.
Mm.
I feel like I'm on fire like some of these young people.
Okay.
So I just know that I used to always be questioning, like, what are you doing in your neighborhood? Who are you taking to church? Who are you giving a job application to?
Mm.
I remember when I came home, my dad says, "Well, the MESC on 6 Mile is hiring. What are you gonna do?"
Mm.
The amount of money that I wanted to make, I was in dreamland.
Mm.
But he said, those auto industry is hiring. You need to get on down there to the MESC office." And I
Okay.
did. And I started in '92.
Okay. All right. So two things I always got to uplift. So rest in peace to my godmother JoAnn Watson, and we
Really?
definitely love Barbara Rose Collins as well.
Woo! Yes.
Just from some of those arts. So yes, I
Yes,
could
so no.
already hear her saying, "Wake up,
Yes.
Detroit,"
Yeah.
and God
Yeah.
knows, so much more.
Yeah. I
But
mean, we had a lot of individuals. I mean, even like Brenda Jones coming in.
mhm,
I just got her endorsement. I would say that.
okay.
Excuse me. But it was women. Like I was saying, like, okay, it's women.
Well, when you talk about a lot of those women, and this is like those points where you can can talk about that Detroit history, but so many of those women, especially my godmothers, both and Orthea Barnes, both were under the tutelage
Mhm.
of Erma Henderson and what she would do with her women's committee that groomed so many people. I mean, when we even think of everything that happened, like, Diana Lewis, at times, I mean, we're even getting into just like that went from generation to generation to generation
Mhm.
of what they would do with so much of, as that 80s Detroit, that 70s Detroit is so male dominated and black men doing a lot of great things. But Erma Henderson
Mhm.
created a collection
Mhm.
almost of like a lot of younger women at the time that I look at like, my OGs. So
So
that was poured
imagine
in.
if you weren't into politics.
Mm.
Those are all political figures. What do you see in your neighborhood?
Mm.
What are you seeing at church? What are you seeing in the surrounding areas? Because everybody's not into politics.
True.
10 years fast forward, if I were to ask my kids about people in political office, they probably wouldn't even know. So you wouldn't know that per se, but when I'm coming in the neighborhoods, what are you seeing? It was just a lot of drugs. It was a lot of everything. It was a lot of negativity.
Mm.
It was a lot of things that people glamorize. We're talking about everyday life. That's what I was thinking when you were asking me, what did I see?
Mm.
But because of the parents that I have, I'm in other rooms that everybody couldn't be in. I'm in other meetings and organizations because they're saying, come on, you need to hear this. Everybody didn't have that.
Okay. And you're starting also, as this is running concurrent, you say 92.
Yes.
You start your relationship
Yes.
that leads into a labor relationship. What was that like?
My dad said, if you don't do anything else, get involved with that union.
Mm.
Trust me, it will change your life.
Okay.
And that's what I did. I got involved with the union, made really good money coming in. I was a single parent, but I made time for the union. I made time to take those classes at Wayne State. I made time to go to labor school and to get the certificates. I made time to be at every union meeting to the point where I knew that I would be a union person actually holding a position and educating people.
What did you find fulfilling beyond like parents give you advice and sometimes it may fall on a deaf ear here or there? What was the connection for you?
Pride.
Part of labor.
Pride.
Break that down.
Pride that someone would take the time out of their schedule to negotiate, to fight for rights of working families. It's easy to say the union is this, but you have to really know the sacrifice that was made. Even with voting, I think our last election was 16 point something %. For me, that was disheartening. For people that complain, how do you complain but not go vote? I believe I'm the person to tell them, listen, put a zip on it or do something about it. We cannot continue to thrive when you're sitting at home on the fence not doing nothing. Everyone has to do their part. But with the union, it was either get in or get out. Because people hated the fact that it was mandatory, but it should have been, because these are the people that are fighting for paid holidays, sick leave, workman comp, and everybody gets the benefits. And a lot of people true enough will say, I don't need the union, but you do, because that's how you got that holiday pay. That's how you were able to take off when your child had a program. That was how someone had to stand in the gap for you to receive those benefits so you can live a more valued life. Even with the wages. People would make less than minimum wage, but they had a standard. And there's a lot to go with that a lot of people didn't even respect. But I was confident. I felt that I was a bridge to help people understand.
Okay. And also, during this time, just engaging in labor, you moved through the ranks into leadership in it. What does that, where did you find your space as a woman in leadership positions in labor, where it's definitely from that lens, we think in 90s, male dominated for show. A lot of the let's put it like this, the Me Too movement was far away, and just what equity was. How did you, first off, how did you go about maneuvering in that space, and what confidence did that build in you to do where you're at even today and moving further?
There was a woman named Barbara Singleton. I'll never forget. She was our CAP chairman, and she would diligently go person by person. And we're talking about thousands of people, asking them, do you know what district you live in? Do you know who your representative is? And a lot of people did not know. I think when she asked me that day, I knew who my representative was. I knew what district I lived. I knew what precinct I voted in. And she was excited. That was someone she could engage in. And she said, you know what? You should come join my CAP committee. I'm like, oh, what's CAP? She said, it's the Community Action Program. Come to the meeting and let's check it out. I never would have thought after those years that I would have taken her place when she retired. And the CAP was the Community Action Program, and it raised money for people in political office that support working families. So imagine you're at work, we probably have about 3,000 people on different shifts, and you're saying, "Hey, can you give a donation towards our CAP program?" And they're like, "Give a donation." And I'm saying, "Listen, I'm just asking for $1 a week, a dollar a month, or $1 a week, however you wanna do it, or $3, whatever you wanted to give towards someone that we knew that was gonna vote on any labor issue.
Mm.
We know this for a fact. It takes money to win races, and the contribution should come from the floor." I said, I would tell them, "Listen, you won't even miss it. Just before the taxes come out, you just give your $10 or whatever you wanna donate, and you don't just sign this card." And then we give them a little trinket or something, give them a little pride pin or something. And the amount of people that signed up actually made me recognizable
I,
about
I'm gonna
Region 1.
I'm gonna give some. All right. So first off, shout out to Miss Singleton, and
Yeah. Oh, she's amazing.
and I also want to say this too. I'm gonna give some Mr. Miyagi credit to your mom
Mhm,
because interacting with people
mhm.
in those large crowds at Hart Plaza, in the roses and the balloons, it all come full circle because when you got that person that's possibly on break that got a little bit of time between what's going on and what's happening in the line and some downtime, and it's like, hey, you want to give $3 or something?
Mm,
Sometimes it's just the courage to
it is.
stop and have that
Yes.
connection. But you got a lot of that
Mhm.
from
Courage.
what your mom already provided earlier on. So shout out to mom too.
Thank you. And that's a good word, courage. 'Cause people would actually be laughing at me downtown.
Mm.
I would be on that corner right there where the Omni Hotel is, and they would be laughing at me selling those balloons, and sometimes I would shrink myself a little bit, but then my mother would say, "Hold your head up. You gotta smile. You never let anyone see you feel some kinda way." But when I got home that evening,
Mm.
let me tell you, I learned that I couldn't let people dominate who I was,
Mm.
and I couldn't shrink for anyone. By no means necessary. If I stand for something, that's exactly what it is. It hasn't always been favorable, and I haven't always been on the right side of it, but I did give 100% for what I thought was the right thing to do.
Okay. All right. So from the CAP program, you start there
Mhm,
and then move to other heights, I'm
mhm,
guessing, and other
yep,
other realms. What in union leadership?
mhm. Well, that was my top leadership, but I would be at the region. I would do phone banks, and I told them, "Listen, let me have the whole region. I guarantee you," this is during this time, I would have every phone in this building
Mm.
occupied. This is during the Al Gore, uh, um
Bush.
Yes, and I was actually picked to introduce him in Detroit. Me and my children were down at the Renton, we were in the security, and I actually had the opportunity to introduce him
Mm.
to the city of Detroit, as our union representative, um, but that was the biggest thing, getting people to vote, coming out and doing phone banks. It's hard to get laborers to work 4 a.m. sometimes. At that time, I think it might have been on, like, 10 or 11 hours, and then we're gonna leave with this plant, and we're gonna go over to this region and do phone banks.
I, I was gonna say that's where I was gonna ask that question. That relationship between from a union
Yeah.
lens, what did you learn politically? And how did that impact a lot of how you saw
Mhm.
the political scope?
I believe that once educated, our workers were anxious to help
Hmm.
because it takes time. You gotta be able to put time in, so it's a sacrifice.
Hmm.
People claim, "Oh, I sacrifice," but if it's not hurting, it's not a sacrifice. I was raised, don't use the word sacrifice unless there's some pain involved because it's easy to say, "I sacrificed," but what did you lose? What did you give up? What did you have to put to the side to accomplish what you were trying to accomplish? So it was sacrifice to work there. Some of them are dirty, depending on what job you had. They were exhausted, and they would come make time because they believed in a movement. They believed that the union was under attack. We had just been around this time. We had gotten to the point where you couldn't even strike if you wanted to. I remember when that came down, where you had to ask for permission to strike. Like, come on, give me a break. I was radical at that time. Like, we're walking out of here, right, wrong, or indifferent.
Mm.
It was wrong. We got penalized. A lot of people was hurt by it, but they heard us. They heard our cry.
Mm.
And sometimes you have to be able to stand up for the hard things
Mm.
if it means that much to you.
Okay. All right. And then in this same scope, local organizing
Mhm,
and really from the neighborhood.
mhm.
You got
Oh,
that
wow.
experience too.
I do. I do.
All right.
Even in my neighborhood, I've been there 17 years. I'll just say I started off I never forget, I went to my first, board meeting, And I'm thinking I'm young, I'm energized, I'm in my 30s. I wanna be on the board, I had good ideas.
Mhm.
They ought to hear my ideas. I ran for the board because the neighbor said, "No, come on, you're young." And I lost that day.
Mm.
I remember walking home, I'm probably like 37, 36. I'm talking to my mom on the phone, she said, "I told you not to do it.
Mm.
You just got there. You do not know how it work. You need to get involved. Learn the particulars, learn how they do things there." That neighborhood has been there a long time. They are established, and they've been doing a good job for themselves. Get involved. And I walked home and I thought about I'm about to get involved, and I got involved.
Mm.
I joined everything that I could.
Wow.
I had a vending machine company at the time. I would provide all the snacks and drinks for the alley cleanups
Mm.
for free. I joined the, security committee. I was real big on, security at that time, whereas, like, gating it in, like, Detroit has no gated areas, but over here at Virginia Park or down Jefferson, like, because I felt like it was so much crime going on at that time.
Mm.
And I remember my children's cars. I had the record for car breaking. I had bought more steering columns
Mm.
and more clutches than you could think of.
Oh, man.
But you're in the middle of what it is. So we just dealt with it. I remember organizing. I joined the garden club. I remember taking our membership. Our membership was down, and people just did not want to give for whatever reason. But I remember going door to door saying, "Hey, you gotta join up. Let's have a voice." It takes some money to get things going. People don't understand. You just can't have what you want to have. You have to put some money up.
Mm.
I don't care if it's $5 or $10. You have to contribute. You got to have some skin in the game. And when you have skin in the game, then you have a voice. But I remember taking our membership, which was actually growing, but I took it to its highest level. And I was proud of it. I was proud that people were actually seeing me for who I am because I'm telling you, even when I moved there, I was blue collar.
Mm.
People looked at me like, "What does she do for a living? She has gym shoes and jeans on all the time."
Mm.
Well, I work and I have multiple jobs.
There you
This is
go.
where I wanna be, and I'm willing to do what I have to do to be here. If that means working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is the East Side of Detroit, and I dreamed that this is what I would be doing.
I love it.
And my neighbors respected it.
Okay.
They respected it.
So in that same arc, now to city council,
Yes.
when did it start shifting to say, District 5, I'm going there?
I was in the hospital for 8 months,
Hmm.
almost 8 months. I didn't walk.
Hmm.
They wanted to amputate my leg.
Mm.
So when calamity come, you never know. You never know. People never know what you're gonna do till it happens. And I was in the hospital. First, I was at home on an IV for like a month, and they were infusing me. I went in the hospital, and I was reading the newspapers and look at the news every day because I'm laid up. I'm being infused like 22 hours a day out of 24. And it killed this infection. And
Oh.
I'm reading everything across social media you could think of. I had laptops, computers, phones, and I'm seeing our city transitioning. I mean, the word then was transitioning, but the real word is gentrifying. I started hearing and reading the plight of so many legacy residents. People who were part of our tax base, and had made Detroit, had helped maintain Detroit when people fled, when people left. Even when we lost income with the police and firemen, they were gone. And this has been years. Gone. Just wrap it out of here. I saw people that were stressed. People were losing their homes at a fast pace. People were unable to recuperate from that time in '08, '09, '10. And I'm reading, and I said, well, this is when I first decided to run in my own neighborhood first because I knew there was some issues there, people trying to stay in their homes.
Mm.
And a lot of times people have pride. They'll never tell you. They'll never tell you that they're in a stress. And I forget my neighbors, the whites. There was a lady that lived next door to them who had lost her house, I think for like $1,800.
Mm.
And she didn't even tell anyone. Can you imagine living next to someone for many years and you need $1,800? But because we're in a society that shame you for being in need, and we're talking about people that have worked their entire life, we're talking about retirees. It just was heavy on my heart
Mm.
that they needed a voice. Now, I'm not young, but I'm not old either. But if you're 70 and 80 years old and you're dealing with something in the city of Detroit where you've been in your entire life, where you've worked, where you've been a professor, you taught, then there should be some type of recourse.
Mm.
So when it comes to taxes, I'm a big advocate on taxes. I am an advocate on legacy. I am an advocate on preservation. And I just believe that I'm the voice that people need. They need to know. Like, there's 7 different ways. Please don't ask me to call them out right now. That you can save your house, be it through a veteran, be it for a disabled, be it for serious reasons that no one would ever tell them. But imagine being in your house and your roof is leaking. You've been in your house 50 years, but your taxes say this is what you should pay because the value has gone up. But no one knows what you're dealing with inside of your house.
And what you're bringing up is definitely one of the discussions that many people are having about Detroit in Detroit and even across the world right now.
Mhm.
And it's the lens of this new Detroit or revitalized Detroit
Mhm.
currently through a lot of the Duggan administration and what's changed. And the reality for a lot of, you say, like, legacy residents. I'm always, Detroit is different. We're always leaning in to speak best and utmost for legacy Black Detroit that has been here for generations and the opportunities abundant to us.
Mhm.
So when you really talk about the housing stock, right, and that housing stock that people have, and you're right, the property, it's like the value of your house going up on paper, it sounds amazing if you plan on selling your house.
Mhm.
If you don't plan on selling your house, that can come with all types of new challenges. You know what I'm saying?
And I'm gonna be honest. I've worked with some city employees, and I won't say names, but I've worked with those departments where they're doing reappraisals.
Mhm.
They're actually coming into the home saying, "Hey, your basement's been leaking. You have structural damage. Let's fix this."
Mhm.
There's things in place that people just don't know. Like, you can go to the assessor, but now they've changed the law where you don't have to go to the assessor. I'm telling them, go to the assessor first. Try your reduction sites there. Then go to a March review. It doesn't hurt to go twice. It doesn't hurt, but people don't know. Well, I only did the March. Well, no, let's start over.
Mhm.
But no one's saying it.
And what you speak about is definitely another one of those challenges. As I was
Communication.
saying, depending upon how you're looking at it. So it's usually not as bad as people make it, and it's not as good as people make it. It's somewhere in the middle. And also, the other very unique thing about Detroit's housing stock that makes our city what it is internationally, why so many Europeans come to the city of Detroit. Shout out to Carlos Nielbach, the German Detroiter that's been here for years and talks about the design, is that unlike a lot of the cities now, like that, almost every house looks the same. You can, it's it's nothing to drive down the street in the city of Detroit, and almost the design of every home is signaturely different, which makes what the housing stock here so unique. And then when you really think about the materials that went into these homes. Like my neighborhood, and it only is really highlighted when so many of the older Jewish guests come to this house and they talk about just the Jewish design of how these structures in this neighborhood were built. And it's other homes like this on the west side that were predominantly Jewish homes when they were built and designed. So that has one arc. And then there's certain parts of the east side that have like nothing but a German design, and that's signature, or a French design. And it's like you don't even know a lot of this history until you start going back, and it takes people from other places to come here and say, we haven't seen anything like that since like the 1950s, the 30s, or the 20s in certain parts of Europe, because this is the other highlight that I don't think a lot of people kind of recognize with Detroit. Detroit was looked at as the Paris of America at one point in time. So the homes reflect a lot of the ways that you have those images of Paris in that. So the housing stock here, as you say, in the communication and
Mhm.
preservationist and what happens in preservation and in our historic districts, it all is signature.
It is. And too many people take it for granted. Take it for granted.
Mm,
And you have to love it.
mm,
And a lot of people just don't love it. They'd rather modernize it.
yeah,
They'd rather look like Birmingham.
yeah.
They'd rather go. I have one of my neighbors. Oh, they're amazing. They lived in Birmingham. and they had a historical home, but because of the monster houses that was built on each side, they lost their sunlight. Can you
Mm,
imagine someone telling you that they lost their sunlight?
mm.
So they moved to Detroit down this way because they like historical district. But I am an advocate for that, and it's not favorable for some people because it's not people rather monetize it. They'd rather make these dual structures. They'd rather step a side door on one side with an address and make more money. So those are the people that I have challenges with.
Well, I definitely think even in those challenges and those understandings, it just, balancing conversation. And so much is communication.
It is.
As we get closer to a close here,
Mhm.
I do want people, if they have more interest, more connections, just from everything shared. And thank you so much for sharing so much of your story and leading you to this path and your love of the city and its riches and culture and everything. How do they connect with you?
Well, can I say this first, if you don't mind?
Yeah.
I am looking for developers that wanna build single-family homes. I am favorable for development because with development come jobs.
Hmm.
We have to have jobs. Jobs is the number one thing. People hate when I say it, but they go hand in hand with development because it's providing income for our residents that can continue to purchase homes. But I am an advocate for single-family dwellings. I believe all children need a backyard. You need to have a place to go play that you can call home and have those memories of playing baseball in your backyard or basketball or just having a snowman in your front yard opposed to an apartment building or a townhouse or whatever. I don't shy away from those, but if they're out there, I would love to meet you. I'm in an area right now that needs help. This is my area. And this is where I choose to start, right here in this area, because I was just telling my friend, if JoAnn Watson and Barbara Rose Collins was alive, they'd be rolling because this is unacceptable.
Mm,
But to have developers come here, it has to be sustainable. So therefore, you need population, you need homes, you need affordable housing.
mm,
You need to have people that will service those developments. But then we have to talk to our residents. We can't vandalize them. We can't rob them. We cannot go in and just dismantle what we bring to the neighborhood. It goes hand in hand. So it's communication. I believe I'm the person to be at the community centers. I'm to be at the churches. I'm walking the streets. That's never going to stop because I am a grassroots advocate. Pride has to come, but you have to have some pride. And the city has to do their part too. Everybody talk about if, for example, this may make you laugh. Have this thing out where you can't have signs on the berm. Well, let's get to cutting those berms then.
mm,
How about straightening up what you have to do first and being a big example because you are collecting taxpayer dollars.
mm.
Let's come out and let's perfect what we can while we work to get those developments here, those small businesses here. Because this area, I know how it looked. I know where I came and got my hair done. I know where I sat down and had dinner on Sundays after church. And that is a big issue for me to be in this area, to see these houses, the history, to go untouched, unassisted for whatever reason. And I think I would like them to contact me. Contact me at voterenatamiller.com. You can email me at renata@voterenatamiller.com. That's all my signatures are on Instagram, Facebook. It's voterenatamiller.com.
Okay.
And you will get a phone call within 24 to 48 hours. I've made that promise, and I will continue to, even when I win.
Okay.
That will be available,
All
and
right.
we won't take weeks or months to come out. We're gonna be on the spot.
I love it. All right. So, with that being said, classic Detroit is different questions now.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Your very first car, year, make, and model, year you got it.
1971 Gran Torino. It was white. I got it at 16 years old.
Okay. What year?
71.
Okay. Oh, fresh out. A
71
Torino.
in in 86.
Okay, 71 in 86. All right. Did it have better days or was it clean?
It was clean,
Okay.
and nothing I hit would dent it.
Okay. Okay. All right. All right. So where was the first place you went when you got it?
Skateland.
Skate. Oh man.
Yo to the max, bro. Skateland.
Oh man. I know that was a
Yes,
fun ride.
I did.
That was a
Mhm.
fun ride.
Yes, I lived there on Wednesdays and Saturdays.
Okay.
Yeah, I couldn't go many places, but that was one.
All right. I'm with it. So that was, I know it was like pulling up. People was like, oh.
It was a gas guzzler.
Oh. Hey,
took up most of my allowance.
Hey,
back I had to learn to work it out.
Back then, gas was probably like $1 a gallon.
It was less than $1, about 99 cents.
See, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
That was back in the day. All right. All right. So, next question. You're the DJ at the end of the fireworks, Woodward and Jefferson. You get to play 2 songs. What songs you playing?
It's definitely going to be an Earth, Wind, and Fire song.
Okay.
I can't think of the name, and it's going to be a Prince song.
Okay, Prince and Earth, Wind, and Fire. You got it. You can't think of the name of the song.
Oh my goodness. Let me think. If I'm let's say Party Like It's 1999.
Okay, so that's a great one. That's a great one. And then I guess if you go,
it's a fast one, the Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Boogie Wonderland.
We'll take that.
Shining Star. I'm just okay.
Shining Star too slow.
Okay. It's like Maurice is somewhere in heaven. Like, no, it's not. I'm just shout out to
definitely those
the
two.
Elements. Yeah. All right. And last question: you could rename Woodward after one Detroiter. Who would it be and why?
John B. Miller.
Okay. Why?
Because he is Detroit.
Mm.
His heart has beat Detroit. As a child, he made sure we were members of the African American Museum.
Mm.
Everybody in the neighborhood had to have a membership.
Ain't that something?
I look forward to helping them grow that membership too.
Okay.
I do. I think that he's just all around Detroiter from the beginning to the end.
All right. Well, I'm with it. I'm definitely with it. Thank you. And best on your journey for District 5.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right. Peace.
Detroit is